what we are going to study today or today in your dissections, आपने अभी तक बहुत सारे लोगों का दिमाग खाया रहेगा. आज आप काटने वाले हैं. We are going to take sections. Now before you take these sections, you need to understand or get a basic orientation of what forms the roof and floor of the lateral ventricles. The ventricle which is there between the two thalami is called third. Reason it is called third because there are two lateral ventricles, 1 and 2, and third is between the thalamus, fourth is between the brainstem and cerebellum. Now here we are drawing for you the section. Now inside this section, what I am going to draw is how the lateral ventricle looks like. So the lateral ventricle is there a cavity inside the cerebrum throughout. So this is how the lateral ventricle is. This lateral ventricle, this is called as the body of the lateral ventricle, which is there in the parietal lobe. Part which is there in the parietal lobe. This is not there in the book, you should not write a part which is there in the parietal lobe. I am giving you just for your understanding. Parietal lobe में body, part which is there in the occipital lobe is its posterior horn. Posterior horn. Part which is there in the frontal lobe is anterior horn of the lateral ventricle. And part of the lateral ventricle which is there in the temporal lobe is called as inferior horn. Okay? युधिष्ठिर के बाजू में जो लड़का बैठा, स्टैंड अप, क्या नाम है आपका? Ali. Ali, A-L-I. Okay. So what is this? With the part of the lateral ventricle which is there in the frontal lobe. This is body or trunk. This is posterior horn. This is inferior horn. Where does inferior horn lie? Ali? In the temporal lobe. The temporal. Sit down. Now what I am drawing for you is a structure called as caudate nucleus. A structure called as caudate nucleus, which forms the basal ganglia. Which forms the basal ganglia. So caudate nucleus is here. And it runs like this. So this is caudate nucleus. Caudate nucleus. Caudate nucleus. Caudate nucleus also has head. It has head which will form the floor of the anterior horn. It has body which will form the floor of the middle part, the main. बॉडी को सेंट्रल पार्ट भी बोलते हैं, सेंट्रल पार्ट, सेंट्रल पार्ट. जिसका हेड, बॉडी एंड टेल. युधिष्ठिर, what is the relation of the tail with the inferior horn? देखो इधर देखो. It forms the roof. So caudate nucleus forms the floor of the anterior horn, floor of the central part, but lies in the roof of inferior horn. Ali, what is the relation of caudate nucleus with the posterior horn? Caudate nucleus is not present in the posterior horn. ये posterior horn ये, no relation. Now I am drawing a third structure. जरा सा डायग्राम को schematic बना रहा हूँ. And that third structure any guess? Corpus callosum. Corpus callosum. Rostrum, body, anterior commissure, splenium. Okay? Corpus callosum. Now let us take sections at all these levels. Let us take section at all these levels. Section at the level of body. In the body, the roof will be formed by, bolo, corpus callosum. In between the two lateral ventricles, there is a septum called as septum pellucidum. So medial wall will be formed by septum pellucidum. Okay? The floor will be formed by caudate nucleus. तो ह्याच्यामध्ये बघून अभ्यास करते ना, मला हे नाही. Anybody who is not using the book can please pass it over. नाही यूज करते खरं शपथ. Okay. Now there is one more structure. मेरे कलर शायद खत्म हो गए इधर. नहीं एवढेच आहेत ना आपल्याकडे. which is forming the floor. अच्छा, and that is thalamus. So here is the third ventricle. बरोबर? Third ventricle. This is lateral ventricle. This is lateral ventricle 1 and 2. Third ventricle is here. ये coronal section है. ऐसे लिया coronal section. Then यहाँ पे एक plexus होता है, which is called as choroid plexus. The plexus which actually secretes the cerebrospinal fluid. Okay? And then there are two structures over here between the caudate nucleus and thalamus. इधर आपको एक्चुअली दो डॉट्स दिखते हैं. One dot is thalamostriate vein. One dot is जो blue है, thalamostriate vein. Another drop is stria terminalis. Thalamostriate vein and stria terminalis. Okay. What is thalamostriate vein? Blood supply of brain सिखाया. डीपर पार्ट्स ऑफ द ब्रेन से ये वेन ड्रेन करती है, उसका नाम है थैलेमोस्ट्राइट वेन. व्हाट इज स्ट्राया टर्मिनालिस? Stria terminalis is the peduncle white fibers from amygdaloid body. ST stria terminalis. amygdaloid से आने वाले फाइबर्स आते हैं जाते हैं वाया stria terminalis. इधर नीचे ये है फॉर्निक्स. फॉर्निक्स एडजस्ट करके ऑन कर, यहाँ पे इस पॉइंट पे एडजस्ट कर. ओके, आई डोंट वांट यू टू मिस. मोबाइल गिरना भी नहीं चाहिए, कर्जे पे लिया है. 3, 2, 1. With that, I am just trying to make a list of peduncles of each important organ. Cerebrum gives cerebral peduncle, which is crus, right? Cerebellum gives 3 cerebellar peduncles. Hippocampus, its fibers pass via fornix. So what is fornix? Fibers from hippocampus. Amygdaloid body, its fibers pass via stria terminalis. Stria terminalis. Stria terminalis. Amygdaloid body. Median forebrain bundle. Median forebrain bundle connects brainstem to hypothalamus to septal nuclei and amygdala. Brainstem, hypothalamus, septal nuclei. प्लेटफॉर्म क्रमांक 1 ची गाडी सुना आहे ना आपल्या BST. ब्रेनस्टेम वरनं सुटेल आणि हायपोथॅलॅमस मार्गे सेप्टल न्यूक्लियर जाइल. ऐसे आवाज निकालते हो, क्या मालूम है? सब स्पीकर ऐसे रहते उधर स्टैंड पे. इसके लिए नाउ दे आर रिप्लेस्ड विद AI. प्लेटफॉर्म के वहां पे एक बार और फिर उधर ऐसा कुछ तो आवाज आएगा. मार्शिरस मार्की कोल्हापुरला जाइए. मीडियम फोरब्रेन बंडल ब्रेनस्टेम से निकल कर हाइपोथैलेमस होते हुए सेप्टल न्यूक्लियर जाएगा. देन डॉर्सल लॉन्जिट्यूडनल fasciculus. It connects brainstem to hypothalamus. Medial longitudinal bundle, ये medial forebrain bundle है, ये medial longitudinal bundle or fasciculus connects all cranial nerve nuclei. Okay, stop that. Start. Medial longitudinal bundle lies in between, connects all the cranial nuclei 3, 4, 6, 5. Because 3, 4, 6 have to work together in movement of eyes. 5, 7, 10, 11, 12 have to move together to move the larynx, to palate, the lips, the mandible. Mandible is not so involved. Without moving the mandible also you can. For speaking. So all have to work together. So median forebrain bundle connects all the cranial nerve nuclei together because they have to work together. And sometimes we move our eyes and speak. बरोबर की नहीं? ये उधर देख. Okay, so वो time पे 3, 4, 6 उधर देख. Speaking. So 12 is involved, lips are involved, 7 is involved, mandible is involved. तभी mandible नहीं involved है because आप ऐसा धीरे से बोलते हैं उधर देखना कौन है. So that time fifth may not be involved. Okay. So that is median forebrain bundle connecting all the cranial nerve nuclei. 3, 4, 6 have to work together for movement of eyes. 5, 7, 10, 12 have to work together for movement of for production of voice. Thank you. असंच राहो. समझे? So ये आपको याद रखना है. ये अगर आपने मिस कर दिया है तो आपको एनाटॉमी बाय डॉक्टर YJB के चैनल पे जाइए और वहाँ पे आपको ये सेम चीज़ मिलेगी. और जाते जाते उधर लाइक, सब्सक्राइब, शेयर. I'll tell you जो आपका मिस हो गया. क्या मिस हो गया आपका? देख लो आपने लिखा है ना. So now we will talk about the anterior horn. Anterior horn, again I am using the same colors. Roof is formed by, floor is formed by, caudate nucleus. Medial wall is formed by septum. और यहाँ पे रोस्ट्रम रहेगा. ये रोस्ट्रम है ना, ये यहाँ पे रहेगा. वहाँ पे कैसा फोर्निक्स है वैसे रोस्ट्रम रहेगा. So floor formed by caudate nucleus, roof formed by corpus callosum. ये आप आपको देखने को मिलेगा. Actually ऐसे दिखता है. Very few things which are actually seen the way we have described. Okay. Now let's go to the posterior horn. Posterior horn, मैं inferior horn जानबूझ के लेट सिखा रहा हूँ आपको because वो उतना बेकार है. Posterior horn very easy. It has only roof and floor. तो उसके floor में ना there are two elevations like this, and then there is roof. Corpus callosum, which is here, corpus callosum which is here, its fibers pass like this. Corpus callosum का forceps major, forceps minor आपने देखा है कि नहीं मालूम नहीं, but it's my duty to tell you this concept. This is one cerebral hemisphere, this is another cerebral hemisphere. Okay? ये बीच में इतना ही है corpus callosum. पृथ्वीराज, कॉर्पस कैलोसम इतना ही है. तो फिर फ्रंटल लोब के फाइबर्स कैसे कनेक्ट होंगे एक दूसरे से? वो ऐसे आते हैं और उसके एंटीरियर पार्ट में से जाते हैं. So this looks like a forceps, which is called forceps minor. Occipital lobes are connected to each other by forceps major. समझ रहे हैं? Forceps major are fibers of corpus callosum which are connecting to occipital lobes. Forceps minor are fibers of the corpus callosum which are connecting to frontal lobes. अब ये बीच वाले जो फाइबर्स है ना, ये ऐसे पास होते हैं, ऐसे पास होते कि कारपेट की तरह लगते हैं, एंड देयरफॉर दैट इज कॉल्ड एज टैपेटम. टैपेटम, टैपेटम मीन्स लुक्स लाइक अ कारपेट. आज रात शाम को घर पे जाओगे तो मम्मा को पूछने गए टैपेटम कभी साफ किया लास्ट आपने? राधा बरोबर. व्हाट इज टैपेटम? कारपेट. जरा सा कॉम्प्लेक्स देने का, अनलेस योर फादर मदर आर मेडिकल्स. टैपेटम. ओके. नाउ हियर द रूफ is formed by tapetum. Tapetum are fibers of corpus callosum. Tapetum are fibers of corpus callosum. Okay. बहुत लोग एब्सेंट है. मुंबई का लड़का यहाँ पे खाना खाता है. हाँ, यहाँ पे खाना चलो नॉर्मली इधर स्पेस है ना बैठने. देन हियर फ्लोर देर इज फोर्सेप्स मेजर. फ्लोर देर इज फोर्सेप्स मेजर. Then there is a sulcus called as calcarine sulcus, which is there on the medial side. This sulcus is so deep that it produces an elevation in the posterior horn. That elevation is called as calcar avis. Calcar avis. Calcar avis. Calcar avis. Okay? So floor formed by forceps major. ओमकार राऊतच्या बाजूला बसलेला मुलगा तो झूम रहा है थोड़ा थोड़ा. फ्लोर फॉर्म बाय फोर्सेप्स मेजर एंड कैल्कर एविस. रूफ फॉर्म बाय टैपेटम. बहुत इजी. अभी इंफीरियर हॉर्न वो आपको समझेगा ही नहीं. मैं ट्राई करूंगा एक, बट आपको समझेगा नहीं. मैं पहले ही बोल देता हूँ. Inferior view of the cerebrum we had seen parahippocampal gyrus. याद है आपको? parahippocampal gyrus. फिर उसके बाद में कोलैटरल सर्कस था. कोलैटरल सर्कस बरोबर. देन पैराइटो ऑक्सिपिटल. उससे अपने को कुछ inside the parahippocampal gyrus. Inside the parahippocampal gyrus is a structure called as hippocampus. 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 Okay? ये parahippocampal gyrus है ना हमारा. Equilateral surface. Inferior horn ऐसे होता है. यहाँ पे इसका कोराइड प्लेक्सिस आता है. ये inferior horn है. Okay, the inferior horn. Floor is formed by hippocampus and collateral eminence. Collateral eminence. Collateral eminence. Collateral eminence. Okay? Floor formed by two structures. Roof is formed by tapetum on the lateral aspect and on the medial aspect. ये क्या है? Tail of caudate and stria terminalis. वाई स्ट्राया टर्मिनलिस में आपको बताता हूँ. एमेग्डोलॉइड का लोकेशन ना समवेयर यहाँ पे, और वहाँ से स्ट्राया टर्मिनलिस निकलता है. वहाँ से एस्टिबस निकलती है. किती आळस देतेस नाही पहिल्या बेंचवर बसून. मैंने क्या बोला, रिस्ट्रेन करने का. ओके, स्ट्राया टर्मिनालिस. So roof is formed on the medial side by stria terminalis caudate nucleus, lateral side by tapetum. Floor is formed on the medial side by hippocampus, lateral side by collateral eminence. हां, ते घे आणि बाहेर यायला लागेल का तिथं बसून असतं. आपला मोबाईल एवढा जबरदस्त आहे. ओके, हे आपण आता शिकणार आहे. थांब जरा सोडू नकोस करू. तुला जसं जमेल त्यावेळेस झूम कर. आपल्याकडे भरपूर झूम आहे. जास्तच करू नकोस. माझ्या घड्याळात किती वाजलेत वगैरे नाही. स्टार्ट. So now we are studying the lateral ventricles. In the blue, what I have drawn is lateral ventricles inside the cerebrum. This is the central part. This is the body. This is the posterior horn. This is the inferior horn. Below the lateral ventricles is caudate nucleus in such a way that the head and body form the floor of the central part and anterior horn, and the tail lies in the roof of the inferior horn. Posterior horn is the only horn which is not connected to, related to caudate nucleus. This is your MCQ. Above is corpus callosum. So everywhere the roof will be formed by corpus callosum. Central part roof formed by corpus callosum. Medial ball is formed by septum pellucidum. Floor is formed by caudate nucleus and thalamus with thalamus striate vein and stria terminalis in between, and of course thalamus is covered by choroid plexus, and there is fornix over here. Okay. Anterior horn is very similar there, but its roof floor is formed only by caudate nucleus, medial wall by septum pellucidum, roof by corpus callosum. But that is similarity. In anterior horn you don't see the thalamus. Posterior horn is formed by, the floor is formed by forceps major and calcareous. Roof is formed by tapetum. Forceps major is part connecting the two occipital lobes. Coming to the inferior horn, the floor is formed by hippocampus and collateral eminence, and roof is formed by tapetum in the lateral side and caudate nucleus and stria terminalis on the medial side. So this covers all the four parts of the lateral ventricles: central part, anterior horn, posterior horn, and inferior horn. Thank you. एप्रिल कुठे आहे? तर बोर्ड पुसून घे लवकर. काय जमीन लवकर 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 फास्ट फास्ट फास्ट. आपल्याला अजून एक गोष्ट शिकायची असते. हे बंद करून टाक. हे बंद कर, हे बंद कर.